So I had somebody tell me recently, just an older acquaintance, say, your parents are always going to think of you, or they're not always going to think of you, but they still think of you as that little kid. And I've heard parents say that. I've seen parents like comment that stuff. If I go on Facebook, like they'll, how people post like a birthday post, somebody will comment, man, I can't believe you're so grown up. You'll always be that little 3-year-old to me, just walking around. And I don't know, I've sort of argued with boomers, not aggressively, just I've pushed back a bit, and they've held strong that, oh, we're always just going to think of you as a kid, or I'm always going to think of my son or my daughter as a kid. And I think a lot of times, for me at least, it gets a little bit frustrating, and I know for other people my age, like late 20s, early 30s, it gets a bit frustrating that another person won't accept you as being an adult, and they like a 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32-year-old adult as opposed to a 3-year-old. And I don't know, let's just say, I'll just share a story, okay? Let's say a son was building something with his dad, and his dad, went, oh, give me that wrench, here, I'll show you how to do it. And the son is like 30 years old. And the son's like, yo, I've built stuff like this before. Why don't I handle this part of it? You handle that part of it. And the guy's like, no, here, look. And he's just teaching his son how to do it, even though his son already knows how to do it. And he's assuming that his son doesn't know how to do it. And he's not even listening to his son when he's saying, hey, I actually know how to do it. And then us millennials or Gen Z people get so offended so easily, right, at this stuff. So I can't sit here and get offended at that. I just got to back off and let him do that. And if I do show any frustration that he just took the wrench away from me and he's doing everything for me, then I'm easily offended. He's not offended. I'm being sarcastic. I think it's funny when people say that Gen Z people or millennials or whatever, the younger generations, are easily offended. When if you show any type of emotion at all to a boomer or to someone who's older, your stereotypical overweight, lazy, has not really done much with their life in the last 40 years aside from working the same job, that type of person, if you show any emotion around them, they think you're getting offended, and yet they're actually getting offended. When their beliefs are challenged, they can't handle it, especially not from somebody who's younger than them. So, am I saying all this to rant? No, I'm not saying all this to rant. I'm not saying all this to speak to boomers, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're a boomer watching this, you're a lost cause. You're old, you're set in your ways, doesn't matter. But for us younger people, we can learn from those mistakes. And yeah, there is a little bit of bitterness. Sorry, I have a little bit of frustration still in me as I make this video. So sorry for that, but I just thought it was a good time to make this video because I'm just thinking about it, and I can kind of think out my thoughts clearly, and I think a lot of other people my age can relate to this. We can learn from those mistakes. And I had somebody tell me recently, somebody in their late 60s, that it's impossible to break family cycles, and that your kids are going to come at you with the same resentment as you're coming at your parents with. And as I think about that right now, because her argument was that, her kids had it better than her. However, her kids still came at her husband and, their father and said, you didn't treat us well or whatever. I don't believe it's true that you can't break family cycles. I think you can, but I think it starts with you. And I think as I'm speaking this out, I'm realizing that it's up to me to not have resentment towards my parents anymore, and to take accountability for myself. And if my kids were to ever one day come at me with a little bit of resentment or a little bit of critique on my parenting, I would let them be right, and I would try to guide them as much as I can, and try to let them know, not push my beliefs on them, but try to let them know that if they hold resentment in their heart for the rest of their life, perhaps they won't be as happy as if they don't, and if they take accountability, and I can treat them like adults themselves when they grow up and become adults. But as for me right now, I don't need my parents, I don't need everybody else's parents, I don't need my acquaintances, people that I work with that are in their 60s to think what I think, because they sure as hell are not gonna take on any of my beliefs. So I can listen to them and I can understand where they're coming from, but it's up to me to I don't know if let go of the resentment is the right word, but maybe digest it, understand why I'm resentful, and then shift accountability towards myself. I think that's actually the right answer. Because people talk about letting go, right? They're just like, let go. Just let go. Let go of resentment. And then you're like, what does that even mean? Let go. I've studied a lot about letting go, by the way. I got into spirituality a lot in my early 20s. I was trying to overcome anxiety, which I learned that accepting your anxiety actually helps you get over it. Like accepting that it's there, because then it's not in control, even if you do feel it. Perhaps it's the same with resentment. Perhaps resentment doesn't have to control your actions. Some boomer's looking at me in his rear view. Some boomer's looking at me over there. Anyway, I think I said what I need to say in this video. Let me know if you relate to any of this. I'm going to title this video, well, you'll see.